In this episode, we're talking to Tracey Snow of Lennox and Addington Economic Development. While the life of an entrepreneur can feel like a lonely struggle at times, in Lennox and Addington it doesn't have to be. With just a phone call, you can have access to a remarkable network of innovative suppliers, like-minded businesses, and experienced mentors. In her role as connector, mentor, and consultant, Tracey Snow supports local businesses in establishing growth, coming up with marketing ideas, and making vital connections in the community. Tracey talks about her background and process in this episode of the Escape to Eastern Ontario podcast. My name is Jason Tanner. Welcome to the Escape to Eastern Ontario podcast. I'm here with Tracey Snow at the County of Lennox and Addington. And our local government is focused on helping businesses understand why Lennox and Addington is an excellent choice for visiting, living, or establishing their business or operation. And to that end, Tracey Snow supports local businesses in establishing growth, coming up with marketing ideas, introducing them to government services, and in making vital connections within the community. I'm here with Tracey today. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. So I understand that you have a unique perspective on business. You're not just your run-of-the-mill government employee there. You've had a lot of background in running successful businesses yourself.
Yeah, so 25 plus years of being in business or being a business coach to businesses across the country. I've run small businesses plus large multi-million dollar businesses, 55 plus employees. So have an understanding of what businesses should be doing and what works and what doesn't work. We've been really lucky, and I've been in this role 9 years with the county. We started the role 9 years ago. Stephen Paul really had a clear vision in terms of economic development and making it available on the ground. So at the business owner's level, instead of having them come to us in a government office setting, us going to them. And so the role was created 9 years ago, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And we started it off as enterprise facilitation, evolved that over the years to business development officer, and this year I've been kind of designated as the economic development officer. They're all pretty well the same thing. We're here to help businesses start, grow, expand, and everything else that is included in a business.
Okay. So in one of our earlier conversations, you had let me know what one of the key strategies that you have there for helping small businesses avoid typical pitfalls that cause them trouble. What was that again?
So for years and years and years, business owners have been told that as a business owner, you have to wear multiple hats. You have to juggle the balls, you have to do all the work, all the jobs. And what we found is, in our experience and from what I've been seeing in businesses and in life across the country, from an economic development perspective, is that businesses who wear multiple hats or juggle the balls tend to fail. And the reason is that a business owner is usually passionate about a product or a service that they have, something that they just love, adore, want to be completely immersed in every day. But they're not always good at everything else that includes running a business. So somebody may be very good at, say, making cakes or fixing cars or creating a widget, but they don't understand how to market it. They don't understand what social media is. They don't understand that a website may be very important to them. Or many times we see business owners don't understand accounting. So what we're hoping is that we don't want to teach them to do all of those things. We want to support them in what they're really good at and grow from that, and then give them the tools and the resources and the connections within our community to support all those other things that A, they're either not good at, or B, they just really don't have the desire to do.
Right. Yeah, so people will, be the chief cook and bottle washer. That's the instinct, from the beginning.
Well, because nobody tells them differently. And it's really, and that's one of the things that we find within our region, we're very, very successful on. I'm a director also on the board for the Ontario East Economic Development Commission, and it's economic developers within Eastern Ontario that we share marketing dollars and we promote Eastern Ontario as a place to do business. But one of the things that I'm fortunate enough to see is that I'm very close with most of these economic developers across the region, and that we really do it differently. We don't train our businesses. We don't tell them how to do everything. We help them, support them on the things that they need to fill those gaps in. I'll give you a little example. Years ago, I had this amazing artist. She was a brilliant painter, and I used to tease and call her my starving artist. And Just an absolutely brilliant painter, had a beautiful website, she did art shows, but she didn't know how to do any of her bookkeeping or accounting. And I used to tease her about this box that she had of invoices and receipts and government stuff that she needed to get on top of that was at her desk. But her problem was she couldn't afford to hire somebody. So I said, if you can give me a few days, I'm going to make a few phone calls. And I called a few accountants that I knew in the area, and I said, I have this incredible artist. Here's her website. Go have a look. Let me know if you would do an exchange of services, which, of course, to the CRA's level is completely legal. And 3 of them looked at the website. 2 of them said, you know what? I need some artwork for my house and for my office. I'd be glad to do an exchange of services and give her, say, the next 6 months to a year of accounting to help get her on top of things.
Wow.
Within 6 to 8 months, she was on top of things and was able to pay that accountant to do the services.
Well, that's great. That's fantastic. Well, that's some really practical, boots on the ground strategy there. Yeah, and you make those kind of connections all the time?
All the time. Accounting, actually, it's funny. Accounting and bookkeeping seem to be a really big void in a business owner's piece. And it's more just because typically the service or product doesn't really, the money thing is important to them, but it doesn't necessarily relate around money and what the CRA needs are and their accounting responsibilities are. And there's been many, many times where we've referred clients to bookkeepers where the bookkeeper account has said, okay, I'm good, I can't take on any more. And we have some great bookkeepers and accountants in the region that are really busy because we really promote to our local businesses that they need to reach out to those services that they're not good at, nor do they want. That's a really important piece within our communities. One of the things that we do see in other communities, especially ones that have small business centers. So, and again, love our economic development partners, but Kingston and Belleville have small business centers. We're an economic development office. But as small business centers, one of the provincial mandates for them is to train business owners to juggle those balls.
Okay.
And we don't do that here. And we actually have great partners within our region, the Chamber and the BIA and Career Edge, that we work really closely with to help and support our clients who also, realize that we shouldn't be training them to do everything. We should be making them aware of everything. They should understand what marketing is. They should understand what an income statement is and a profit and loss statement is, but we don't necessarily all expect them to be doing it. So we're indirectly building businesses by having our other businesses access those resources and those supports.
Okay. And so the Chamber of Commerce is taking on the role of the small business center in our community?
They kind of do indirectly. So their job is to promote small business within the greater Napanee. Actually, all of Lennox and Addington, they've been really promoting that. Really great support partner that we work closely with and recommend our clients, be a partner with them as well. They come up with some great programs and events and we're absolutely proactive in terms of everything that they're doing. Same thing with the BIA. BIA is another great partner for downtown.
Okay. So on a typical day, when you're going out to see a new client, what does that process look like?
So again, I don't have an office. My office is wherever the client best feels comfortable to talk about their goals or their challenges. Many times it's at a kitchen table, local coffee shop, at a farm, in a garage. It's wherever they best feel comfortable. We find that many business owners, especially in rural communities, families, business owners, people tend to know each other. And that privacy piece, that confidentiality piece is really important to them. Sometimes when they're starting a business, they don't necessarily want the community to know that they're starting a business until they really feel that they're comfortable starting that business.
So a consultation with you is completely confidential?
Absolutely confidential, on their terms, in their space many times, where they feel comfortable talking about whatever those goals or challenges are. Sometimes they have a business owner that calls me and they're struggling. The last thing they want is their neighbor to know that they're struggling, right, or looking at maybe closing. So my job is to help them through that process and to be as discreet and confidential as possible. Always asking their permission for connection to help them.
Okay, I think that's very important. So you have no office, and if this was a video, you'd see that this room that we're in here has no artifacts from Tracey's life whatsoever.
It's a space.
It's completely bare. So It's pretty obvious her office is her car.
Yeah.
There you go. So what makes Lennox and Addington a great place for potential residents to start a business?
Well, this is exciting, and this is one of the things that I am so passionate about with this role. I've lived in cities before. I grew up in Ottawa. I've lived in Calgary. I've worked across the country. And living in a city or a larger urban center isn't necessarily doesn't necessarily lead to success, right? And I'm really such a big proponent that being in a rural community you can be just as successful in being in a rural community. I'll give you an example. Somehow a professor at Ottawa University found out about my role and what we do. And a couple of years ago, she called and she said, I teach sustainable rural economic development to students at Ottawa University, and we're doing a tour of north of 7, Caladar, Flinton, Addington Highlands area.
Oh, wow.
Could you come and talk to them about what you do and about business in rural communities and let them know what you think? So every year I talk to them, and they're always surprised to hear that you can have really successful businesses in rural communities and selling and you doing your product and supplying that service and product around the world. It's not just local. Internet does a great thing nowadays where we have access to the world at our fingertips, and that absolutely holds true for a lot of our communities within the region.
And many of these businesses that you support are also laboring under the challenge of being seasonal as well. Right, so they have a smaller window than a traditional business to make their money.
Yeah, and my job really to help them through that process is to understand how important those spring to fall months are. So if their season is spring to fall, how important, managing their money and their budgets and the marketing piece during those peak times so that they can waver and get through those winter months. Or looking at other options during the winter months, maybe a diversion to what the business is, or other options, or something that's a part of the business that they can be doing during the winter that'll kind of keep that momentum up on the payroll and their income.
And so you would be a good person to maybe reach out to see if I'm living in Toronto and I'm thinking of perhaps purchasing a destination business in a rural community. Particularly LNA, you would be a good person to talk to about maybe opportunities that are coming up.
Yeah, funny that you asked. So I actually have a couple of clients right now that are coming from the GTA area that one of them are looking actually buying a particular business already within our community. It's been a business around for years and years and years. And then another couple are looking at starting a business within our community. So my role really is to kind of guide them through that process and introduce them to all the resources and the opportunities within the region, show them what we have and what we can offer them from an economic development standpoint. I forgot to mention, the secondary, next to confidentiality, the second piece to this is that our services are completely free at all times. So we work closely with a lot of people who are looking at coming to the region and help streamline that so it's seamless for them to make that transition and not be so frightened.
So confidential, free, and you completely flatten the learning curve for getting used to the area.
Our goal is to give them all of the tools and the resources they need to make that transition smooth.
Right. And is this an ongoing support that you provide, or is it just during the startup stages?
So no, we do startups. I have businesses call and say, I'm looking at selling my business, but I don't want to go to a real estate agent because, again, that confidentiality piece, right? Do you know anybody who's looking at buying a business? I have people that call me and say, I'd like to buy a business. So if you have any businesses that are coming up for sale, again, we're not real estate agents, but we are connectors. And so I'm considered to be kind of that connection piece between business and the community. And so people know that I meet with a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the community, and I'm a resource for them. So we help with startups. One of the big things that we've seen over the 9 years in my role is that we've seen unbelievable growth within our region for those startups. So we're so fortunate that we have Goodyear and Bombardier and Lafarge and all of those big organizations within our communities. But chasing those smokestacks is different nowadays. Those bigger companies don't necessarily come as often as they used to, and they're looking at diversifying the way they do business. So our biggest growth and our biggest opportunities that we really see is the growth within our region and the businesses, and we nurture the businesses within our communities to grow and expand and be that success.
Right. So are there particular advantages for businesses of that size who are thinking of relocating to our area?
The larger businesses, excuse me?
No, I mean the small to medium-sized businesses, not necessarily the Goodyears.
Yeah, so the opportunities are huge. Again, continual support from our particular group. The other thing that is a really important piece, when I mentioned connector to you, I'm a connector in all respects. So I have relationships. When I'm not working with clients, I build relationships with what we call resources and partners. So partners are as well would be Queen's University, St. Lawrence College, Loyalist College. So they're training partners. We have businesses that have staff that need training. We work with those groups from a training standpoint. I've had businesses that I've worked with for research and development. So they're doing a product development or they're doing manufacturing and they need ideas on how to better manufacture the product that they have or grow within that manufacturing space. I actually help them connect to, say, Queen's University or St. Lawrence College, where they put together projects and a team of professors and researchers to actually do a project with those clients with grant dollars that the university and the colleges help bring towards the project. So my job really is to help then balance and connect these businesses to those resources and opportunities to best leverage the opportunities for them and maybe help them with some of those dollars that would have cost for them to grow.
Okay. That's very interesting. What kind of information would you expect to get out of a report like that?
Out of the research and development piece. So it depends on the goals. So for example, I had a business, I've been working with them for years. They had a situation, I guess they were growing, and they were in a situation where they couldn't output fast enough for the demand of the products. So they called me up and they said, we've been approached by all of these different companies. It means that our performance and our production capabilities need to quadruple minimum.
Okay.
I then connected them with a few partners, and a couple of them were St. Lawrence College and Queen's University. They actually did a whole analysis on their manufacturing process, introduced them to companies that had equipment that potentially could work within their system, helped find funding to make that happen. And at the end result was their performance and their manufacturing capabilities grew so that they could choose then to say yes or no to those potential clients. That's just one example. I have other clients that have needs in terms of an assessment of what they're currently doing within their company. And we'll get academia to then come and do an assessment on what does that mean and what are other options across, say, North America or Canada that are happening that maybe they're not aware of. So it's really giving businesses the opportunity to find out what's happening outside of their community that they may not be aware of, because their job really is to do their business. It's my job to connect them to those opportunities because their role is to take care of their own business. And so that connection piece is really big. And many times I'll come across, when I'm not with clients, I'm networking, I'm going to trade shows and events and connecting to opportunities and resources and other professional services that could be helping our region and our clients. If I come across something that I really think is a benefit, then I would actually send out an email to clients and say, hey, I came across this. I really think you should look at it. It may be a good fit for what your needs are. So I'm always trying to keep the client in the back of my mind when I come across an opportunity or resource, and then reaching out to those clients to let them know.
Right, okay. So at every possible control point in the business, from marketing all the way up to production, you have connections to help them to optimize
in every level of their business, every aspect of their business. And the other thing that is really important is that, so when I work with a business, it's not just, okay, I'm going to sit with you for a few times and then we're done. Thank you very much. Good luck to you. A lot of times I'll sit with a client, we'll go through some stages and some steps. I help them down the path. I get teased a lot. The clients will walk away and go, okay, well, I'll do my homework and then we'll meet when I do my homework. I'm like, well, it's not homework, but you definitely need to do some research to make sure that path is the right direction for you. And then, working with them where I may not hear from them for a few years. A few years later, all of a sudden I'll get a call and they'll say, okay, so Tracey, I'm here, but I really want to get up here and I don't know how to get up here. How do I do that? And so then I help them with those next stages. Okay, so this is what this means. This is really what you want. So I really get them to see a clear picture of what that may look like, decide whether or not that's actually what they were looking for, and then once they say yes or no, then we kind of go down that path to help them those next stages.
Okay. There's, reminds me, there's a marketing consultant that I met through the Kingston Sales and Marketing Club named Diana Lidstone, and she has an expression she uses for her clients. It says that for every level there's a new devil. So as you graduate through the steps, there's always some new and exciting new challenge that comes up, and you can't always anticipate it. So it's nice having someone who's been exposed to so many different business stories and vertical markets that you can have kind of a palette of options presented to you in your situation.
Yeah, and I mean, I see them as opportunities. And the reason I see them as opportunities, because really at the end of the day, when we show the client kind of what that would look like if they decided to take that path, they get to choose, right? So to them, it's really an opportunity of whether or not they want to go down that path or they want to continue on where they are and maybe diversify that way. So it's empowering the business owner to make those decisions, but make sure that they have everything that they need to make those decisions well. And so I always say to clients, kind of half jokingly, but the best that I can do for them is be that other set of eyes and ears so that they can't say, oh, why didn't I think about that? Or why didn't I know about that? That's my job. My job is to help them with all those answers and those questions that they may not even be aware they have.
Right. So there's a vast catalog of alternatives, regardless of what situation they're in. Even if they feel a little trapped. And I mean, I'm in business for myself, and sometimes you wake up in the morning and you think about the challenge that has been set before you, and all you see is the wall.
Yeah.
You know?
I call it the four walls.
The four walls.
So business owners are typically stuck in their four walls, and sometimes they forget to step out of those four walls and look in. I mean, I've actually done something as silly as this. I used to do this with a business I had years ago with my staff, but so I've actually taken business owners in downtown Napanee and I've said, they're like, well, I really want to grow, but I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know if, how to do this, and I don't know how this is going to work. And so the first thing I do is I actually take them out of their business and I walk them down the street. So let's look what's happening in your community. What's happening with potential competition? What does your store look like to a customer? Have you looked at it from a customer standpoint? And it's not that they don't mean to. They just are so busy in their day-to-day that they actually just don't think about it.
That makes a lot of sense.
So my job is to really, again, be those other set of eyes and ears to help them kind of look from outside to look in.
That's a very interesting strategy. Just having the space to think about things from the outside, and also the movement and being outside of your environment. That's fantastic. I found that works very well. If I have a real tough nut to crack, I go somewhere that's outside of my typical environment, and I find it's much easier to think about new approaches.
Well, and it's not that business owners or people who are looking at business they're all intelligent. They just sometimes only decide things based on their own experiences, right? So I'm just another experience that I've come across things. And another example, I have lots of stories about businesses. And another example is a gentleman, this has happened many times, but this one particular gentleman was starting a business, and it was more of a consulting role. And he would do a lot of online stuff and more of a consulting role where he didn't necessarily need a space or a retail space or anything. But he was having a challenge finding clients. And he's like, I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know how I have this website, I'm doing social media, and I'm not sure why I'm not finding clients. So my question to him was, so you don't have a retail space? No, I don't. He didn't need one.
Right.
And I said, okay, so when you do all of your office work, when you make your phone calls, when you do your emails, when you pay your bills, where do you do it from? And he just, well, from my office. And I said, where's your office? It's at home. Okay, so how many people do you meet in your home office? Oh my gosh, I don't meet anybody. So when you do your paperwork or your emails, you need to go to one of our local coffee shops. And you need to sit down at one of the local coffee shops and do your work there. And then all of a sudden you're now open to a whole bunch of new people that you may not be meeting on a regular basis. You're still getting your job done, but people are going to start seeing you more often, right? And they're going to go, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so, what do you do? And then they're going to start talking to you, right? And I mean, that's really how this role started. When I first started 9 years ago, we didn't really do any marketing. I literally just hit the pavement, went to coffee shops, local restaurants, started sitting and talking to people in the community. And so now when I go into a coffee shop or I go into a business and somebody goes up to that business owner and says, I'm having some problems with my business, or I'm looking at starting one, they know who I am. So they'll say, well, you should call Tracey Snow. And it's not because, I think we're very knowledgeable in terms of what we offer from our department, but it's because I'm out in the community and people see my face. Right, so it's that call to recognition. And so I try to help business owners as well who don't have an office, who don't have a retail space that people can go to. Make sure you get out as often as you can. That networking piece is huge. And a lot of business owners, they get so busy in those four walls, they forget how important that is.
Yeah, that's so important. Yeah, there's a gentleman in our community, I know you know him, Sam Salam. I'm always mispronouncing his name.
Good networker.
So probably just
He's a great networker.
He is a ninja at I want to say engineering serendipity, right? He's just out there. I run into him all the time.
Yeah, and that's how we met, was when coffee culture was around, and Coffee Cravings is still with us, thank goodness. And he would be out meeting clients, and of course I would be out meeting clients. And so finally one day we literally just looked at each other and went, okay, we need to talk. So we just went up and said, so what do you do? Because I keep seeing you all the time.
Yeah.
What do you do? I keep seeing you all the time. And, right? And so that's, again, how that happens. People start seeing you, they build that comfort level. It's a small community, so your face seems familiar. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the benefit, that's one of the great benefits of rural, is that you can't get away with that necessarily in a big city, but you can definitely take advantage of that in a small community.
It's one of the toughest things in building, turning strangers into prospects. As cavalier as that may sound, but people buy from people that they know, trust, and like. Mm-hmm. And in a small community, you have such a great opportunity to build relationships based on the fact that you like these people. Your kids play soccer together. You have all these shared experiences and shared environments and shared interests. Yeah. So getting out there, plus it's just refreshing to get out of your office sometimes, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And even a business that is a retail piece, it's still good to get out and do your networking.
So is there anything else that people who are starting a business or running a business should know about what you guys are doing here that maybe that they would overlook?
Yeah, some other examples of things that we do. I've had many businesses say to me, okay, so I need a loan, or they're looking at buying a building and they need to finance that and they're not sure how to do that. So I help them with their business planning. We don't write business plans for them, but I actually help them through that process and review the business plans for them. And I can't even count how many times I've been to the bank with a business owner as their coach. And so I go as their mentor, as their coach, as their second set of eyes and ears, and help support them through that process. The greatest thing that is as well that we offer is that and banks love us and the funding organizations love us because we prepare that client to have that meeting with them. So when a lot of times a client would go and they'd have a meeting with a bank or say a grant organization, they'd say, well, I'm looking at getting this much money because these are the things that I'm doing. They would leave, say, okay, I'll put an application together or a business plan together, and they wouldn't know what their expectations were. They wouldn't know the words or the story that they need to be telling the organization so that they get a yes. And so my job is to really help them through that storytelling, right? So this is the story they want to hear. These are the things that they want to hear about what you're going to do to the community. And I always say to business owners, it's almost like it's applying for a job, and I recommend this to people who are applying for jobs as well. When you apply for a job or when you apply for a loan or a grant, you don't actually talk about yourself. And it's human nature to talk about yourself. Well, I do this, and my background is this, and I want to start this business, and this is the business I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be doing this in the community. And we have to remember these organizations actually want to hear about what is this business going to do for the community? What is it going to do for that organization? What is it going to do about job creation? That kind of thing, growth and opportunity. And so I help business owners kind of understand how to, position themselves so that when they do go to the bank or they go to a funding organization, they are absolutely prepared to get a yes instead of all those questions. Well, what about this? What about that? So again, it's helping them through that process so that they can't say, well, why didn't I know? Why didn't I understand? That's my job to help them through that process.
So they're, rather than playing a defensive role where they're justifying their existence or their plans, they're trying to identify mutual interest with their investor, basically, because the bank is your investor.
Well, at the end of the day, if you show the investor or a bank or a grant organization that you're benefiting the community and you're possibly creating jobs, at the end of the day, you get the loan or you get the grant. So you win, right? You do indirectly win at the end of the day. And so our job is, but not only does it do that, but it also then really prepares a business owner to understand what they're getting themselves into and what that either that new business means or that growth means, so that they're not just getting a loan and the bank is, saying, well, good luck to you, all the best, I wish you good. And they have that support to understand what does that money mean and, how can I make that the most resourceful and the most effective dollars, to make me successful. I've had businesses call and say, I'm looking at doing this business, and they're really excited about it, and they're like willing to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into it. And then I'll start asking questions. Have you asked about this? Have you looked into the zoning of this? Have you looked into the water? Have you looked into this situation? What about the competition? And those are things that they just didn't even, they were so excited and so passionate about whatever that was, that they didn't stop and think about all the questions that they needed to also be asking. So not that I'm being negative, I'm just trying to make sure that the transition piece and whatever those choices are goes smoothly as possible, so that at the end of the day, they're successful. We don't see a lot of businesses that we work with fail. And if they are close to that, they'll call us, thank goodness, and say, okay, I'm not doing well, I need help, how do I do this? And we get them through that process. It's the support is ongoing. I always say to clients, I may have been working with you for a few months, but please know even just one question is important, right? So if you feel that there's a question you have, it's not a silly question. Just call anytime or send an email and just say, hey, I don't know about this, or do you know who does this? Or, I'm thinking of this, what are my options? And so I'm always, I'd rather a call or an email than nothing at all. To me, that's really important. And again, that goes back to that confidentiality thing, right? So then they feel safe and comfortable with asking those questions and with talking about those things, because they know that I'm there to help them and support them no matter what.
That's really interesting. I was on a sales call actually with a lead generation company just recently, and they used a term over and over again, which I really liked. And it's a mutual self-interest, right? And what they were emphasizing is that their model is set up so that it doesn't make any sense for them to let you fail, and that they only survive when their partners thrive. And that's what's going on here. So when people understand that the Lennox and Addington's economic development prospers when the community prospers, and that they're constantly on the lookout for leverage and opportunities and connections that are going to help you do that more easily, they feel a lot more at ease with availing themselves of these opportunities. I mean, we're paying for it through our tax dollars. We should avail ourselves of every advantage.
Absolutely.
Business is hard enough.
It is.
Using all the tools available to you.
That's true. Very true. Yeah, and we try to be as resourceful with opportunities as possible. And again, that's part of what I do. Like this week, I'm at a conference learning about a specific industry. A couple of weeks from now, I'm at an entrepreneurship conference learning about opportunities and what other things are happening in other communities. One of the other things that we've done in the past few years is I do a lot of work with high school students. Mm-hmm. And the Napanee High School is the only high school of the 3 high schools within our region that offers business and entrepreneurship classes. We'd love that to be different. We do try to work with the other schools to offer that and support them on that. So I do some work with the Napanee students in entrepreneurship and business, and have been for years. There's a great summer company program where students can apply for a $3,000 grant to start a business in the summer, and so I help them through business planning and the application process. One of the things that we noticed, though, that was the grade 8, grade 9 students weren't necessarily understanding what business and entrepreneurship meant. And it may have been because their parents didn't know what business and entrepreneurship meant, or they just never felt that. I've talked to students that have said, well, I don't want to be a business owner. I don't really want to be an entrepreneur. I just want to do this and I'm going to get a job, which is great. Mm-hmm. But we want to show them that there's opportunities. So you can either get a job or you can make a job, right? And a lot of times, if you don't make the job, somebody else is going to do it, right? And so we want to show them that as youth, they have these great opportunities to make choices. So we're advocates about the education piece. We're advocates about going to secondary education, whether it's college or university. But we're also really advocates about you have choice. So you can work for a great employer, or you can start your own business and doing something. And right. So one of the spin-offs that we've noticed in working with the high schools is that we really thought that we realized that we had to talk to the grade 7, 6, 7, 8 classes, because those were the ones, the sponges, the ones that are really open to those opportunities and open about thinking. We've done some research, and we've found that through some of the research that the 12 to 14-year-olds are actually really thinking about what does the future mean to them and what do those choices mean to them. So a couple of years ago, we started a program called Kidpreneur. And Kidpreneur. Okay. Yeah. So Kidpreneur is a program on entrepreneurship. And so Steve and Paul and I would go to the schools. So we started this 2 years ago. We went to some of the schools that were interested in participating, and we did a full presentation with examples of what an entrepreneur at the youth level was like. Bombardier, for example, the snowmobile was created by a teenager. The trampoline was actually created by a teenager.
Really?
So we were giving examples about what does entrepreneurship mean? What does business mean? It doesn't have to be complicated, right? Again, we're trying to not complicate business, not juggle all the balls, not that's really important. And so I think that stigma where people think that you have to juggle all the balls scares them to be in business.
Yeah.
And so we go now. So 2 years ago we started Kidpreneur. We kind of make it like a science fair. So we have a Kidpreneur fair. The schools actually hold a Kidpreneur fair within each of their schools. We'll go in once or twice and support the kids and kind of what their project is, and we give them a list of those 5 key things that a business they should look at for their business idea. So these students will actually create a business. So what is your product or service? Who's your customer? How are you going to market your product or service? What does it cost to make your product or service? And what are you going to sell it for? And so we kind of help them through that process. The teachers get involved. They have their own little Kidpreneur fair in their schools. We as a group and other business owners and community members go and judge that. And then we actually hold a county Kidpreneur fair. We're on our 2nd year. First year we won an EDAC, Economic Developers Association of Canada Award for marketing on the Kidpreneur program.
Oh, wow.
And we've just finished our 2nd year of the Kidpreneur program, and we've had communities across Eastern and Western Ontario calling us, asking us about what the program is and can they try it in their communities. So we're really touching upon you can actually create your own job, and looking at, we have beautiful communities that we have in this Lennox and Addington area, and showing students that you don't necessarily have to go to the big city to start a company. You can actually start your business here and stay home where your family is and be in your community. So again, trying to talk to that as well. Again, education is really important, but really showing people that they have choices. So that's another thing that we do.
Oh, that's amazing. No, and I never would have thought of that. Right. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you further about the great work you guys are doing here. How can business owners get a hold of you?
So they can either go directly through our website at lennoxandaddington.com, or they can call me directly at 561-6310. But they can always call the county offices and just ask for Tracey Snow or ask for somebody within our office to help them.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for today. Appreciate it.